Okay, you're off mute now.
Sorry, I switched on the wrong mic before. Soon went live before.
Okay. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm told that I've just been talking for the last 5 minutes to air. So hello. This matchup, we see two of last year's top 8 finalists from the World Championship, Harshan Lamabadusuriya and Shin, matching up. Harshan, last year's unlucky second place finisher at the World Championship, and Austin, as we already know, defending champion this year for the UK Nationals. The wheels have come off the Austin party bus a little bit this morning. He lost his first 2 games, including the second game to the up-and-coming and very strong player Jamie Jones, who we've also just watched triumph over Scrabble stalwart and grandmaster David Webb. Austin's opening play of view, absolutely fine. Takes fewer hooks than Wive, which was the static Sim's favourite. Harshan decided to balance his score and rack balance by playing Aha instead of the highest score of Ha, H-A-A-R. Austin there has opted to keep IT. So he played Meaved, M-E-V-E-D, instead of Meaved with an I in it, which would have been my choice, I think. So M-I-E-V-E-D in the same place that he's just played his play. Austin as Halibut, Holy Butt, and a joyful anagram of holy butts being Holopsy. Harshan has airfare, but sadly not spelt correctly. The positioning of the V of Meaved has really limited the scoring opportunities here in that area. If Harshan were to be aiming to get to a bonus, he ideally wants to play fair. He can't really do that anywhere effectively. He's got fairer lined up on his rack, but actually I think go a little bit further and play fairier in this situation. F-A-I-R-I-E-R through the E of Meaved. It scores 28 points. It's probably the highest score you're going to get in this move. Keep an A. He's playing around with Fire, which I'm assuming he's thinking about playing onto the AI, making Rye. Static. Oh, he's played Fair. Okay. I think at that point, I think Fairia is certainly my favourite. Fair creates scoring threats across the top. AIR is okay. Does have the ability to go very, very wrong. Of course, it does block Halibut. The only bonus I can see working through the alphabet in my head through the E is Thurable, which obviously doesn't play. There's yeah, I don't see a playable bonus now for Austin after the fair play, which probably isn't fair. So Austin really wants to offload the U and one or more of the B and the H. Can do this in a few ways across the top of fair. If he holds on to the U, he could play Blythe, or if scoring is not an issue, the anagram of Blythe, which is Thibble, onto the E of Meaved. I think when I've got a blank, I tend to play a little bit more bullishly. Bullish combines with a T, by the way, to to make another bonus that he could have had on this rack. And worry less about what I'm keeping with it. Sometimes I potentially do that to too great a degree and rely upon the strength of the blank. But I think with the insurance of the blank in this situation, I'd be quite happy with something like Blythe to keep scoring. Another opportunity would be Built across the top of Fair. It scores only a few points fewer than Blythe. But I like the volatility and the threat of opening up a 9-timer when I've got the blank. It's interesting actually looking down the options. Most of the best scoring and balance options here actually don't offload the U. As waiting for this move, I find myself idly wondering whether we will see interview, worldview, maybe even pre-review. Harshan sitting there with uremia. Of course, what you may have noticed, dear listener, is that if Austin does play and leaves the H floating, Harshan will have Marehau, Marehau. That's only going to happen if Austin plays something like Thibble, which I'm sure he won't. But yeah, Austin has played Blythe, which is my personal choice, personal favourite. So I'm not going to argue with him there. Trying to capitalise on the power of the blank keep. Harshan's turn to sit there with an unplayable bonus. One tile away from Aerobium as a 9-timer. Plays such as Ambari, A-M-B-A-R-I, Marabi, it's anagram, Umbre, if you want to get rid of that U. I think ideally he will be playing something through the B. Although Mauve has its merits, and as I say this, I think he's picking out the tiles to play it. Has its merits because it's probably the best move. Nice thing about Mauve is he keeps the R as well, which sets up, potentially sets himself up for a triple word score play next move. Austin has made a cardinal error here of keeping a U and picking out a W. As many of you watching will realise, when you keep a U, you will always pick a W. And as soon as you play the final U out of the 4 that you've had to work your way through, you will pick the Q. Austin opting to just get rid of the U as soon as possible, take out the B position. Maybe shouldn't have worried so much about doing that, and I would have prioritised offloading the W in that case. Nothing wrong with WOE across the top of fair. Mainly because he would also realise as a virtual certainty he's going to pick out another U because he kept the W. So back to Harshan. Harshan loves his A's this game. It's another one of those situations which we all love, where you find yourself caught between dinking off a couple of tiles with virtually no score, or trying to force yourself through scoring. Writer, which really originally came to light through the song of the Beatles, where they spilled their Indian dish all over their book. In paperback Writer, as I'm sure you've heard. Austin, WU. Limited scoring opportunities. He has to unload either the W or the U this time. Ideally, he doesn't want to be offloading the R and the E. The question is, can he do this without sacrificing score too much, or will scoring have to stop for at least one move? He's kept the W and offloaded the U. He's miscalculated the score and announced it as 18. Whereas in actual fact it scored 20. Some players out of habit always check their opponent's score. I personally do, because I don't want to have any surprises at the end. And as we saw actually in the first game of the day, when Austin underscored one of his moves, Ellie Dangoor does routinely double check his opponent's mathematics and corrected Austin in that game as well. Harshan probably very focused on his own rack and game at the moment. Picking out a perfectly good play there, utilising the front hook ray head. Great keep for the rack that he had. Finally, Austin, with his rack management, has reached a situation where he is going to bonus. Twistier looking like the only one that's going to score a significant amount. Actually, potentially looking at it, Twistier looking like the only one's going to play. Indeed, it was the only playable bonus in that situation. So you would always hope that you would see something like that, everyday word. So Austin takes a 40-point lead, but has obviously created a hotspot. What Austin would really like to do right now is to be able to follow through with a decent pickup. But then what Harshan would like to have right now is a 9-timer. Both of them can't have what they want. So looking at options now for Harshan. Through the R. Nothing awesome springs to mind that's more than 4 letters long. Could potentially consider something like Pudre, P-O-U-D-R-E. 30, but the GT isn't a great keep. He's looking at Gorp, 27. TUED, reasonable. Looking down from the triple top middle, something like Pudge might be worth considering, keeping TOE. It leaves that R, which is looking extremely dangerous, completely free. But the E of fake isn't that safe, and particularly with Z unseen. So Harshan actually, I think in this case, does take the right decision. He declunks his rack, leaves Austin to play snarlier instantly because there is going to be no other worthwhile play. Harshan just taking a couple of seconds to cross off his tracking, do all of the personal admin. And even in this situation, if Harshan had blocked the R, Austin would have had a chance of bonus. Larniest onto the T, or even Rainless onto the S of Twistia, in case Harshan somehow blocked the T. Currently now 6 of Harshan's tiles. He had Tooney. There we go. So he needs an S for Looniest, and conveniently there is one in Twistia, which I would imagine he's playing almost instantly because there ain't going to be much else. He's probably just checking that he's not missing anything. Onto the D of Pudge. Or indeed onto the P of Pudge. But, yeah, he's got Looniest set up in his rack now, so we'd expect that to be played relatively quickly. Yeah, there we go. Keeps him in the game. Notably for the future, it sets up the O in a very dangerous position for the unseen Z. All the other alternatives on that move are going to score 10, 15 points tops. Now, we can see that Austin currently has a 20-point lead. The players, remember, will think that Austin has an 18-point lead. Okay. I have it on good authority, actually. They must have recounted the score because now they agree with our scores. So they must have noticed the 2-point underscore. That's a shame. That removes some of the potential intrigue from the endgame plays. So Austin, a slim lead. 2 S's. Big opening across the top of Luniest. And not many other places to score, really. Perhaps something as simple as DOO across the top of Luniest. Squeeze some points out of this relatively uninspiring rack. Take out the Z position so she can't see the Z. Take a 39-point lead. Certainly not a comfortable lead at the moment. See, it's sub 40 points, but the board has potential on both top and bottom. Yeah, Austin opting to take out the Z and J hotspots. No S's senior on this board. And actually, they're not that useful. So Harshan's going to be faced with a lot of 10, 15-point options here. Let's put the L and the N off to the left of his rack, suggesting maybe he's thinking about simply playing Lin through the eye of Twistier. Looking at what's left to come, though, there aren't that many vowels, as Austin is finding. 2 O's, 2 E's, I, A. From Harshan's point of view. Of course, there is still another blank out. The moral of this story is you don't want to be keeping a rack that's very consonant heavy currently. You want to try and get a little bit more balance than 4 consonants and 1 vowel if you can help it. No, actually, he might have been considering sort of Lin, just playing Aloin through the AOI, writer do Luniest. I suppose the highest scoring opportunity for him here is to play Gel, making dog 1 and oil 22. But you're pretty much committing suicide with your rack balance at that point. So Harshan at the moment is certainly wrestling with himself. He realises how few vowels are left to come. He realises that keeping too many consonants is going to store up problems for him. Grin will remove some of the scoring risk underneath Luniest. Static simulation has Aloin at top, but as we know, that could all go very, very wrong. You might want to consider Lung at the top through Pudge. Grund, keeping Len. The challenge that Harshan has here is that although in any normal game he's not that far behind, the scoring opportunities currently are quite limited on this board. So a 39-point deficit is going to take a while. Okay, so he's chosen to play Gren over Grin. Might have been because he's keeping the L to have a score underneath Ludius next move. Austin needing vowels. Harshan has picked out Yield On, which will play under Luniest. It's a great pickup, netting 2 of the vowels. I mean, Austin does have a play of Cos, COS, making Doc, Ono, and Ois. However, actually looking at the bag from his point of view, the vowel, it's not looking too bad now. If he wants to preserve his one vowel, though, he's got an option such as oust down from the OU top right hand corner. 21. The benefit of playing Cos is that he is, of course, setting up his S. But there is another S unseen and a blank. And of course it takes an O. What he doesn't know is that it would also block Harshan's bonus. For those who are so interested, Yield On only combines with one other letter apart from an S to make 8's G for Gondola. Or Mears instead of oust. All much for muchness. However, down goes Yield On pretty quickly, I would think. There we go. Yep, down goes Yield On. Oh, what does it? Yeah, Yield On. So Harshan retakes the lead from a 51-point deficit. A slim lead though it is. 28 points, but Austin has bagged good rack. He doesn't have the A he wants for Jackanets, and he doesn't have the C he wants for Conjects, but he does have some positive scoring potential now. Across the top of Yield On, underneath Yield On. Q, X, and Y all still unseen from Austin's point of view, and the blank, and another S. There's a lot of goodies out there. However, not so many vowels. the hotspots around Yielden are both going to be attractive to Austin as well as causing him some concern. With the Z and the X unseen, the chances of Harshan having a 40, even 50-point play on the next move are getting quite high. Austin's highest score is likely to be something like Joey's through the Y of Yielden, 46. However, that burns his O and his E. And the S, less of a concern, but in so doing would set up a place for the Z to score 64. And the lead would be a slim 18 points. Other options include things like Gion across the top of Snarlio, 33, keeping CST. Or simply Joe. And OS. Probably wouldn't want to play Joe and Yo. With what's unseen, you're inviting a major comeback. Top of the static sim is Joey's, probably because of the pure score. Maybe something like Conte, C-O-N-T-E, at the top of Yielden, not using the J. The problem with Conte, similar to other things potentially setting up the Z, is it sets up Zal. And it keeps Austin behind by a point. Jet underneath Fair potentially sets up a Fez play, among other things. Really tough situation here for Austin. So I think what he's opted for there is to limit the potential scoring threat from Harshan, and at the same time keeping himself with as strong a bonus potential as possible through the floaters of Pudge. So Harshan is more likely to have a high scoring rack rather than a bonus rack, which means he's likely to play in the bottom rather than up at the top. What Austin has done there is hopefully created a situation where Harshan will only score 30, 35 at the bottom rather than 50, and has hopefully limited the opportunity that Harshan will have at the top. Sure enough, he has made it a little bit harder for Harshan to score easily. Harshan sees 4 tiles unseen. He will be worried about plays such as Kusind. And the queue is still unseen. So Harshan will be wanting to avoid the queue, and we know that the queue is in the bag. So QITY is in the bag. All of this might lead Harshan to consider playing short. Something like Pix, PYX, 30, which on this board is a good score. He might have to run the risk of Austin having a bonus at the top. He's going to find it very difficult himself to score up there and block at the same time. A lot of considerations going on here. Hold on, is the rack I'm seeing on the screen correct? Because it doesn't fit the tracking for Austin. Okay, Austin has the cue. The cue is not unseen. That transforms things a little. As I suggested, Pix. Oh, interesting. So Pix came out on top of the sim. However, Harshan has opted to play Peck. That's probably because he wants to frustrate a play ending in OUS or a play ending in DE. Given what was unseen, it was highly unlikely, though. Realistically, the only play that was going to happen up there, I think, was going to be Kusind, which Peck doesn't do much to block. Peck does, however, do the mandatory leave one in the bag. Puts him 34 up. Should Kusind be played as it happens, Harshan would have Bortz as a counterplay for 70. We know that he's not going to play Kusind, and in fact, well, there's only one in the bag and there's only one place to play the cue, so unfortunately, Austin is forced into playing a move that automatically loses the game. He's not going to get anything out of this. Has to play Quop, because if he doesn't, he's never getting rid of it. Which leaves us now with Harshan's play. He's only 18 points up, but the game is his. He just needs not to play a phony. These are the kinds of situations that you should take your time over. Don't leap at the first high-scoring play that comes to you. You should be considering setups and certainly be considering going out in two if it's all possible. Harshan is just double checking his tracking. We know that the 18-point lead he's got is probably comfortable, but he doesn't know that yet. And even if he doesn't go out, as long as he scores heavily with the Z and the X, I think he'll be fine. Austin has some scoring potential still. ONY underneath Yielden for 28. I'm struggling at the moment to see an easy 2-move out for Harshan, even if you were to play something like Zex or Zax underneath fair. I mean, yes, it sets up a big counterplay, but if you go out in 2, it's not going to be a problem. I don't see an outplay with bits currently. Zisti actually looks like a XYSTI, keeping BZ blank. Yeah, Zisti you can go out in 2. Because you buys, or actually just Zist. No, Zist you wouldn't want to set up the S for your opponent. There we go. And simulations putting Zisti at the top. Good old Quackle. So Zisti, XYSTI, Zistus being an old scraping tool used to scrape bones. So the great thing about Zisti is it sets up both buys, outplay, as well as bez underneath the LO and the ON of Yielden. So having said we were looking for a 2-move outplay, that, dear people, is your solution. It's the only 2-move outplay that seems to be readily available. The next best suggestion from Quackle is to play Hex. Yep, just dump the X underneath the HE. You can tell by the heaviness of my sigh that I do not agree with the idiot child. So let's play with Zisti, which Harshan had set up in his rack for a second there. Yes. And he's going to play it. Good play. Strong play. Very good. So Harshan finds with 36 seconds counting down his clock, we think he's found, yep, he has, yep, there we go. Oh no, he still hasn't pressed. Now he's pressed. Harshan sets up the only 2-move outplay. Well found, there's 29 seconds left on his clock. We don't think it will take him that long to play buys or bez. If I were him, I'd already have counted what they both score so that I don't have to take time doing that. Austin will be taking time to make sure that he doesn't miss anything. But as I think he will realise very shortly, there's nothing there to be missed. A few mid-20, late-20 plays, but the B blank Z is going out. His highest scoring play is to play Shin, SYN under Cray, Hay and Moors. And Morn, rather. He plays Joey's. Yeah, as expected, Harshan whacks down, buys. Good game, well played by both. Some marginal decisions throughout, but solid play, which shows why both of these players are at the top of their game. And an excellent spot of Zistai at the end by Harshan to set up the only 2-move out available. Now I believe we're breaking for lunch, so thank you all for watching this hotly contested head-to-head. We will be back in 38 minutes, so it's 2 p.m. Brett Smitheram time. Until then, take care.